Captain Lee Daho was drinking his morning coffee when the alarm started screaming. The hot liquid spilled across his desk as he jumped up from his chair. Red lights flashed all around the command center of Earth Defense Station Omega-7. His crew was running to their stations, faces full of fear. "What's happening?" Daho shouted over the noise. Lieutenant Park jumped up from her console. "Sir, we have multiple contacts at the edge of the solar system. They just appeared out of nowhere." Daho ran to the main screen. What he saw made his blood turn cold. 47 massive objects hung in space near Pluto's orbit. They were huge, bigger than any ship humanity had ever built. Each one was the size of a small moon. "How big are they?" he asked. "The smallest one is about 50 kilometers long, sir. The largest is over 200 kilometers. Daho had been in space for 20 years. He had fought in the Mars Rebellion. He had seen alien ruins on Europa, but nothing had prepared him for this. On Earth, Dr. Park Nari was working late in her lab when her emergency phone rang. She was the best alien expert humanity had. If something strange happened in space, they called her first. "Dr. Park, you need to get to command right now," the voice said. "We have a situation." Nari dropped everything and ran to her car. 20 minutes later, she was standing in the Global Defense Initiative headquarters, staring at the same screen that had scared Daho. "My God," she whispered. "Where did they come from?" Admiral Kim Tae-min stood next to her. He was a big man with gray hair and worried eyes. "They just appeared. No warning, no energy signatures. Our sensors didn't see them coming." Nari studied the shapes on the screen. The alien ships were dark, almost black. They seemed to absorb light instead of reflecting it. Their design was unlike anything she had ever seen. They were smooth and curved, with no obvious weapons or engines. "Have we tried to talk to them?" she asked. "We've been sending signals for 2 hours," Admiral Kim said. "Every language, every frequency, every code we know. Nothing. They're completely silent." Across the solar system, Sergeant Choi Bo-ram was loading equipment onto a transport ship. She was one of Earth's best space marines, strong, fast, and smart. When the alert came in, she knew her vacation was over. "All Marines report for duty," the loudspeaker announced. "This is not a drill." Bo-ram ran to the briefing room. Colonel Hayes stood at the front, his face serious. "People, we have visitors, big ones. They're not answering our calls and they're heading straight for Earth." The room went quiet. Bo-ram felt her heart start beating faster. "We don't know if they're friendly or not," Colonel Hayes continued, "but we're going to be ready for anything. Get your gear and report to the ships in 1 hour." Back on the command station, Daho watched the alien fleet move slowly through space. They were traveling at about 10% of light speed. At that rate, they would reach Earth in 72 hours. "Sir," Lieutenant Park called out, "we're getting reports from all over the system. The aliens are ignoring everything. They passed right by our mining stations on Ceres. Didn't even slow down." Daho felt a chill run down his spine. If the aliens wanted to destroy humanity's outer colonies, this would have been the perfect chance. But they just kept moving toward Earth. "Get me President Wilson on the secure line," he ordered. On Earth, panic was starting to spread. News reports showed crowds gathering in the streets. Some people were praying, others were rioting. The stock markets crashed within hours of the announcement. Dr. Nari was working with a team of scientists trying to understand what they were dealing with. The alien ships were made of materials that seemed impossible. Their hulls bent light around them. They created no heat and used no energy that human sensors could detect. "It's like they're not really there," said Dr. Chen, her assistant, "but we can see them clearly." "They're there," Nari said. "They're just using technology we don't understand." Admiral Kim was coordinating Earth's defense. Every warship in the human fleet was moving into position around Earth and the Moon. Orbital weapons platforms were charging their weapons. It was the largest military buildup in human history, but everyone knew it probably wouldn't be enough. Sergeant Bo-ram's unit was assigned to protect the evacuation ships. Millions of people were trying to leave Earth for the outer colonies. The spaceports were chaos. Families were crying, pushing, fighting to get on the ships. "Stay calm," Boram shouted into her radio. Women and children first. A man grabbed her arm. Please, my wife is sick. She needs to get off the planet. Boram looked into his eyes and saw pure terror. She helped him carry his wife to the medical ship. Captain Deho received new orders from Earth Command. Begin evacuation of all orbital stations. Everyone not essential to defense operations needs to get to the inner colonies. It was a hard decision. These stations had been humanity's homes in space for 50 years. But if the aliens were hostile, the stations would be sitting ducks. As the hours passed, the alien fleet kept coming. They maintained perfect formation, like they had done this 1,000 times before. No ship moved out of place. No ship changed speed. Dr. Nari made a disturbing discovery. Admiral, I've been studying their movement patterns. They're not just randomly heading for Earth. What do you mean? They're positioning themselves. Look at this. She pointed to the tactical display. If they maintain their current course, they'll arrive in a formation that completely surrounds our planet. Admiral Kim felt his stomach drop. A siege formation, itty. Gets worse, Nari continued. At their current speed, they'll all arrive at exactly the same time, down to the minute. The implications were terrifying. This wasn't a random attack. This was planned. The aliens knew exactly what they were doing. As the second day began, something strange happened. The alien fleet suddenly stopped moving. Every ship held its position just beyond Neptune's orbit. They hung there in space like dark shadows, waiting. Captain, Deho stared at the tactical display. Why did they stop? Nobody had an answer. The aliens were close enough to attack, but they just waited. The silence was more frightening than any weapon. On Earth, Dr. Nari worked through the night trying to understand why the aliens had stopped. Were they waiting for something? Were they studying humanity? Or were they preparing for the final attack? In her laboratory, surrounded by screens showing the alien fleet, she felt very small. 47 massive ships filled with unknown technology and unknown intentions. And all of humanity could do was wait and hope they came in peace. Tuck, next few hours would determine the fate of the entire human race. The alien fleet had been silent for 18 hours. Commander Yoon Ji-woo stood on the bridge of the diplomatic ship Harmony, staring at the dark shapes in the distance. She was humanity's best first contact specialist, trained for exactly this moment. Are you sure about this, Commander? Asked Captain Reed, the ship's pilot. His hands were shaking slightly on the controls. Someone has to try, Ji-woo replied. We can't just wait forever. The Harmony was small compared to the alien ships. If the visitors wanted to destroy it, they could do so easily. But Ji-woo believed that showing courage might earn their respect. Back on Earth, engineer Bae Hyun-sik was in his workshop, making final adjustments to humanity's most advanced fighter ships. His designs had kept Earth safe for 10 years. Now, he wondered if they would be enough. The new plasma cannons are ready, his assistant told him. But sir, if those alien ships are as strong as they look, then we'll have to be smarter, not stronger, Hyun-sik said. He had spent his whole life building ships. He understood how things moved in space, how they fought, how they died. But these alien vessels were different from anything he had ever seen. Dr. Lim So-young was working in the quantum physics lab, studying the strange readings from the alien fleet. She had won the Nobel Prize for her work on space-time theory. If anyone could understand alien technology, it was her. The energy patterns don't make sense, she told her team. It's like they're only partially here. What do you mean, partially? Here? Asked her student Jinsu. Look at these readings. The ships appear solid to our eyes, but quantum scans show they exist in multiple dimensions at once. It's theoretically impossible. Commander Ji-woo's ship was now halfway to the alien fleet. She had been broadcasting peaceful messages for 2 hours. Mathematical sequences, pictures of Earth, music, art, and simple greetings in every human language. Suddenly, her communications officer jumped up from his station. Commander, we're getting a response. Audio or visual? Ji-woo asked, her heart racing. Both, but it's strange. The main screen flickered to life. What appeared was not an alien face or a message. Instead, it showed Earth as seen from space. But this was not a recent image. The continents were different. The ice caps were larger. "This is Earth from the Ice Age," said Dr. Martinez, the ship's scientist. "About 20,000 years ago." The image changed. Now it showed early humans discovering fire. Then it showed the first cities, the first wars, the invention of writing. It was like watching a movie of human history, but impossibly detailed. On Earth, Dr. Nari watched the same broadcast in amazement. "They've been watching us," she whispered, "for thousands of years." The images kept coming. The rise and fall of empires, the development of science, the Industrial Revolution, 2 world wars, the nuclear age, the first rockets to space. But the aliens didn't just show the dark parts of human history. They showed acts of kindness, doctors helping the sick, teachers educating children, artists creating beauty, people sacrificing themselves to save others. Admiral Kim stood next to Nari, watching in silence. "What are they trying to tell us?" "I think it's a test," Nari said. "They're showing us who we are and asking us who we want to become." Dr. Lim So-young made a breakthrough in her laboratory. She had been studying the quantum signatures from the alien transmission. "I've figured out how they do it," she announced to her team. "The ships don't just exist in normal space," she explained. "They're anchored in something called hyperspace. That's why our weapons can't lock onto them. That's why they seem to appear from nowhere." "Can we build weapons that work in hyperspace?" Jinsu asked. So-young shook her head. "We're about 1,000 years away from that kind of technology, maybe more." The alien broadcast continued for 6 hours. It showed humanity's greatest achievements and worst failures, the moon landing and the destruction of forests, the cure for polio and the invention of chemical weapons. It was a complete record of human civilization. Then, suddenly, the transmission ended. But something new appeared on every screen across the solar system. A timer. It was counting down from 24 hours. Commander Jiwoo tried to communicate with the aliens again. "We've received your message," she broadcast. "We understand you've been watching us. Please tell us what you want from humanity." There was no response. The alien ships remained silent and motionless. On Earth, panic spread faster than ever. The countdown timer appeared everywhere. On television screens, computer monitors, even on digital billboards. People didn't know what would happen when it reached 0. Engineer Hyun-sik was working frantically on new weapon designs. "If they wanted to destroy us, they would have done it already," he told his team. "This countdown means something else. Maybe it's an ultimatum," suggested his assistant. "Change your ways or be destroyed." "Maybe," Hyun-sik said. But he kept working on the weapons anyway. Hope for the best, prepare for the worst. Dr. Nari was analyzing every second of the alien broadcast, looking for clues. She noticed that the aliens had paid special attention to certain moments in history. Acts of courage, wisdom, and sacrifice seemed to interest them most. "They're looking for something specific," she told Admiral Kim. "Some quality they want to see in humanity." "What kind of quality?" "I'm not sure yet, but I think they're deciding whether we're worth saving." Sergeant Boram was still helping with evacuations when the countdown appeared. The crowds became even more panicked. Parents were throwing children onto ships. Old people were being left behind. The worst of humanity was coming out. But Boram also saw the best. She watched a young doctor give up his seat on an evacuation ship to an injured stranger. She saw volunteers working without sleep to help families stay together. Even in the face of possible extinction, some humans chose to help others. Dr. Lim So-young made another discovery that chilled her to the bone. "The countdown isn't random," she told her team. "It's synchronized with something." "With what?" "I don't know yet, but every few hours the alien ships pulse with energy. It's very faint, but it's there. And each pulse is getting stronger." The implications were terrifying. Whatever was going to happen when the countdown reached 0, the aliens were building up to it. Commander Jiwoo's ship was now very close to the alien fleet. The vessels were even more impressive up close. Their hulls were perfectly smooth, with no seams or joints. They seemed to be made from a single piece of unknown material. "Commander," her pilot said, "I'm reading some kind of energy buildup in the lead ship. Weapons?" "I don't think so. It's more like a scanning beam." The beam touched their ship gently like a feather. Jiwoo felt a strange, tingling sensation, as if something was looking directly into her mind. "They're reading us," she realized. "They're learning about us through direct contact." On Earth, the countdown continued. 18 hours, 17 hours, 16 hours. Dr. Nari worked through the night trying to decode the alien message. She was certain the answer was hidden in the historical broadcast. The aliens had shown them something important about humanity's past. Now they needed to figure out what it meant for humanity's future. Admiral Kim was coordinating the defense of Earth, but his heart wasn't in it. Every military analysis showed the same result. If the aliens wanted to destroy humanity, there was nothing Earth's forces could do to stop them. "Maybe that's the point," he said to himself. "Maybe the test isn't about fighting. Maybe it's about something else entirely." As the countdown entered its final day, a strange calm settled over the solar system. The alien ships continued their silent vigil. Humanity waited and wondered. And somewhere in the darkness between the stars, ancient minds made their final judgment about the young species called human. The timer kept counting down. 23 hours, 22 hours, 21 hours. And still, nobody knew what would happen when it reached 0. The countdown showed 12 hours remaining when something crashed into the Pacific Ocean. The impact created waves 50 feet high and sent shockwaves around the world. But it wasn't a meteor or debris from space. It was a small alien craft, no bigger than a school bus. Colonel Ryu Chan-woo was eating breakfast on the aircraft carrier Seoul when the object hit the water 2 miles away. He was Earth's best underwater specialist, trained for impossible missions in the deepest parts of the ocean. "Colonel, we need a team in the water right now." Admiral Park's voice crackled over the radio. "That thing is still intact down there." Chan-woo assembled his team in 10 minutes. They were the best divers in the human military, equipped with the most advanced underwater suits ever built. But as their submarine approached the alien object, they realized they were dealing with something beyond their understanding. The alien craft sat on the ocean floor, glowing with a soft blue light. It was perfectly round and completely smooth like a metal egg. Streams of energy flowed from it into the surrounding water. "It's not damaged," reported Sergeant Kim, Chan-woo's second-in-command. "It looks like it landed exactly where it wanted." Dr. Oh Mi-jin arrived on the scene 6 hours later. She was a marine biologist who had spent her life studying the ocean. When she saw what the alien device was doing to the water around it, her face went pale. "Colonel, this isn't a weapon," she said, studying her instruments. "It's some kind of analysis probe." "What's it analyzing?" "Everything. The water, the seafloor, the fish, the coral. It's taking samples of every living thing in a 10-mile radius." Chan-woo felt his stomach tighten. "It's studying Earth's life forms." "Not just studying them," Dr. Oh said quietly. "It's cataloging them, like it's making a complete record of everything that lives on this planet." Meanwhile, Captain Han Dong-jun was preparing for the most dangerous mission of his life. He was Earth's best pilot, famous for test flights that other pilots wouldn't even attempt. His new assignment was simple in theory but impossible in practice. Fly directly at the alien fleet and see what happens. "You don't have to do this, Captain," Admiral Kim told him over the secure channel. "We're asking you to fly into the unknown, with no backup and no way home." "Someone has to try, sir," Dongjun replied. "If we just sit here waiting, we'll never learn what they want." Dongjun's ship was humanity's most advanced fighter. It used experimental engines that could reach 30% of light speed. It was armed with plasma cannons and quantum torpedoes. It was also completely useless against an enemy that existed partially outside normal space. As he flew toward the alien fleet, Dong Jun thought about his family back on Earth. His wife Su Jin was probably watching the news right now, praying for his safe return. His daughter Min Young was only 5 years old. She still believed her father could do anything. Maybe she's right, he whispered to himself. The alien ships grew larger as he approached. Up close, they were even more frightening. Each one was a dark mountain floating in space, covered in strange patterns that seemed to move when he wasn't looking directly at them. Earth Control, I'm approaching the outer perimeter, he reported. We're tracking you, Captain, came the reply. No change in the alien formation. Then something impossible happened. As Dong Jun's fighter crossed an invisible line around the alien fleet, every weapon system on his ship simply stopped working. His targeting computers went blank. His missiles wouldn't arm. Even his emergency plasma pistol refused to fire. Earth. Control, all weapons are offline, he reported, trying to keep the fear out of his voice. Are you under attack? Negative, the systems just turned off. Before he could say anything else, a beam of light surrounded his ship. Not a dangerous beam, but something gentle and warm. His fighter was being pulled toward the largest alien vessel. On Earth, Dr. Nari watched the rescue mission with growing excitement. They're not destroying him, she said to Admiral Kim. They're bringing him inside. Inside what? Inside their ship. They want to talk to us face to face. Under the Pacific Ocean, Colonel Chan Wu made a disturbing discovery. The alien probe wasn't just studying Earth's life forms. It was making changes to them. Dr. O, look at this, he said, pointing to a school of fish swimming near the device. Are those fish glowing? Dr. O adjusted her instruments. Colonel, the probe is modifying their DNA. It's making small changes to every living thing that comes near it. What kind of changes? I don't know yet. But whatever it's doing, it's spreading. Fish that were modified an hour ago are now modifying other fish just by being near them. The implications were terrifying. If the alien device could change Earth's life forms, it could change humanity too. Captain Dong Jun found himself inside a vast chamber filled with soft, golden light. His fighter sat in the middle of the space like a toy in a cathedral. The walls were covered with symbols that seemed to shift and change as he watched them. Then he was no longer alone. The being that appeared before him was not what he expected. It wasn't a little green man or a monster with tentacles. It was tall and graceful, almost human in shape but made of something that looked like living starlight. Do not fear, it said, though its voice seemed to come from inside Dong Jun's mind rather than his ears. We mean you no harm. What do you want with Earth? Dong Jun asked. We are old, the being replied. Older than your sun. We have traveled between galaxies for millions of your years, searching for something very rare. What are you searching for? Wisdom. The ability to choose correctly when the choice is difficult. The alien showed Dong Jun visions of other worlds, other species they had encountered, beautiful civilizations that had destroyed themselves with war, advanced races that had poisoned their own planets with greed, peaceful societies that had been wiped out by their own kindness. Every species faces the same test eventually, the alien explained. They develop the power to change their world, to reach the stars, to touch the divine, but power without wisdom leads to destruction. And you're testing humanity? We are giving you a choice. The device in your ocean can transform your entire planet. It can make you stronger, smarter, better than you ever imagined. But there is a price. Dong Jun felt his heart racing. What price? Another species needs your help. They are dying, and only the transformation energy can save them. You must choose. Use the power to advance your own race, or sacrifice your potential to save strangers you have never met. Back on Earth, the countdown showed 3 hours remaining. Dr. Nari had finally decoded part of the alien message. The historical broadcast wasn't just showing humanity's past. It was showing examples of the choice they now faced. Look at these moments, she said to Admiral Kim, pointing at specific scenes. A doctor giving his life to save patients during a plague. Soldiers sharing their last food with enemy prisoners. A mother protecting children who weren't her own. What do they have in common? Sacrifice. Every scene shows humans choosing to help others instead of helping themselves. Admiral Kim understood. That's the test. They want to see if we'll sacrifice our own advancement to save another species. Under the ocean, the alien probe was spreading its influence faster. Dr. O watched as entire ecosystems began to change. Plants grew larger and stronger. Fish became more intelligent. Even the microscopic life in the water was evolving at an impossible rate. Colonel, if this continues, every living thing on Earth will be transformed within 24 hours, she reported. Is that good or bad? Chanwu asked. I don't know, but it's irreversible. Captain Dongjun faced the alien being in the golden chamber. Around them, the walls showed images of a dying world. Another planet, far across the galaxy, where the last members of a peaceful race lay sleeping in underground chambers. They are like children, the alien explained. They never learned to fight or to hate. When their son began to die, they simply went to sleep, hoping someone would find them, someday. And you want us to wake them up? More than that. We want you to give them the gift that was meant for you. The transformation energy can only be used once per world. If you use it to save them, humanity will remain as you are. Dongjun thought about his daughter, about all the children on Earth who would never know what they could have become. Then he thought about the sleeping aliens, waiting in the dark for a rescue that might never come. How long do we have to decide? He asked. The countdown you see is real. When it reaches 0, the energy will be released automatically. Where it goes depends on your choice. The alien began to fade, and Dongjun felt himself being returned to his ship. Think carefully, Captain Han Dongjun, the being said. The choice you make will echo through the galaxy for all time. As his fighter was released from the alien vessel, Dongjun opened his communication channel to Earth. He had less than 2 hours to convince humanity to make the hardest decision in its history, and he wasn't even sure what the right answer was. Captain Han Dongjun's message reached Earth with 90 minutes left on the countdown. Every leader on the planet listened as he described his encounter with the alien being. The choice was simple but terrible. Save humanity or save strangers. President Moon Jae-in sat in the emergency session of the United Nations, looking at the faces of world leaders on screens around him. They all looked scared and confused. How do you decide the fate of your own species in less than 2 hours? Let me understand this correctly, said the president of Russia. We can become superhuman, but only if we let another species die. That's right. Dongjun's voice came through the speakers. The aliens have been testing species across the galaxy for millions of years. This is humanity's test. And if we fail? Asked the Prime Minister of India. I don't think they'll destroy us, Dongjun replied. But we'll never get another chance like this. We'll remain ordinary humans forever. Dr. Kang Min-ho was working frantically in his laboratory, trying to understand the mathematics behind the alien technology. He was one of Earth's best theoretical physicists, and the equations he was seeing made no sense. The energy requirements are impossible, he told his assistant. To transform an entire planet's worth of life forms would require the power of a star. Then how are they doing it? They're not generating the energy, Minho realized. They're borrowing it. From somewhere else. Maybe from multiple dimensions. His calculations showed something disturbing. Using the transformation energy would tear a hole in space-time itself. The aliens weren't just offering humanity a gift. They were asking them to use power that could damage reality. Private Shin Yu-jin was 22 years old and scared. She had joined the Space Marines to see the galaxy, not to watch her home planet face extinction. Now she found herself guarding the broadcast center where Captain Dongjun's message was being sent to every human settlement in the solar system. A crowd had gathered outside the building. Some people wanted to storm the facility and demand more information. Others were praying. A few were arguing about what humanity should choose. We have to save ourselves, shouted an old man. We can't sacrifice our children for aliens we've never met. But what if it was us? A young woman replied. What if we were the ones dying and waiting for someone to help? Yujin listened to the argument and felt something change inside her. She thought about her little brother back home, about all the amazing things he could become if humanity chose the transformation. Then she thought about the sleeping aliens, alone in the dark, waiting for someone to care about them. She made a decision that would change everything. Under the Pacific Ocean, the alien probe was reaching the final stages of its preparation. Dr. Oh Mi-jin watched as the device pulsed with increasing power. Streams of energy flowed out into the water, creating patterns that looked almost like a giant circuit board. Colonel Chan Wu, she called over the radio. The probe is connected to every living thing in the ocean now. When the countdown ends, it will activate everything at once. And then, every creature on Earth will begin to evolve at an incredible rate. We'll become something new, something better. She paused. Or the energy will go somewhere else entirely. Chan Wu studied the alien device through his submarine's cameras. It was beautiful in a terrifying way, like a sleeping god waiting to wake up. President Moon Jae-in was running out of time. The countdown showed 37 minutes remaining, and the world's leaders still couldn't agree on what to do. We need more information, insisted the Chancellor of Germany. We don't even know if these sleeping aliens really exist. The risk is too great, added the President of Brazil. If we choose wrong, billions of people will suffer. But then Private Yujin did something that no one expected. She walked up to the broadcast microphone and began to speak. Her words went out to every human being in the solar system. My name is Shin Yujin, she said, her voice shaking but determined. I'm nobody important, just a soldier from Seoul. But I want to say something about the choice we have to make. Security. Guards started toward her, but President Moon raised his hand to stop them. I have a little brother named Wu Jin, Yujin continued. He's only 8 years old and he dreams of becoming an astronaut. If we choose the transformation, he could become something amazing. Maybe he could fly to the stars with his mind, or live for 1,000 years, or solve problems we can't even imagine. The room was completely silent. Around the world, people stopped what they were doing to listen. But there are other children out there, alien children, sleeping in the dark, waiting for someone to save them. They're not human, but they're still someone's sons and daughters. They still matter. Her voice grew stronger. My brother always asked me what it means to be human. I used to tell him it meant being smart or brave or strong. But I think I was wrong. I think being human means choosing to help others even when it costs us everything. She looked directly into the camera. If we become superhumans but let innocent people die, what have we really become? The message spread across social media faster than any news story in history. Within minutes, millions of people were sharing Yujin's words. Comments poured in from every corner of human civilization. She's right, wrote a farmer from Kenya. Being human is about caring for others. My daughter deserves a better future, posted a mother from Tokyo. But not if it's built on someone else's grave. I'd rather be an ordinary human who helps others than a Superman who doesn't, said a teacher from New York. Dr. Kang Min-ho made one final calculation and called President Moon directly. Sir, I need to tell you something about the transformation energy. What is it, Doctor? If we use it, we won't just be saving the sleeping aliens. We'll be proving that humanity understands the true cost of power. The aliens aren't just testing our morality. They're testing our wisdom. What do you mean? The species that choose themselves always destroy themselves eventually. Power without responsibility is the path to extinction. But species that choose to help others, they're the ones that survive to become guardians of the galaxy. The countdown showed 15 minutes remaining. Around the world, something unprecedented happened. Without any government order or official vote, humanity began to choose. Social media polls, news website surveys, and emergency radio broadcasts all showed the same result. 78% of humanity voted to save the sleeping aliens. President Moon looked at the numbers in amazement. In our darkest hour, we chose to be our best selves. Captain Dongjun received the message while flying back toward the alien fleet. They've made their choice, Admiral Kim told him over the radio. Tell the aliens we choose to help the others. Dongjun felt tears in his eyes as he approached the massive alien ships. Around him, the countdown showed 7 minutes remaining. Attention alien vessels, he broadcast. This is Captain Han Dongjun speaking for all humanity. We have made our choice. We choose to save the sleeping aliens. We choose to help others instead of helping ourselves. The response was immediate. Every alien ship began to glow with the same golden light he had seen inside their vessel. The countdown timer changed, showing not a time remaining but a new message. Choice acknowledged, preparing transfer. Under the Pacific Ocean, the alien probe pulsed with incredible power. But instead of sending the transformation energy into Earth's biosphere, it began to redirect that power somewhere else. Across the galaxy, to a dead world where the last survivors of a peaceful race waited in their underground chambers. Dr. Oh Mi-jin watched her instruments in wonder. Colonel, the probe is sending all its energy away from Earth. It's going somewhere far beyond our solar system. The sleeping aliens. They're waking up, she said, tears streaming down her face. On some distant planet, they're waking up to a new life because we chose to help them. Private Yu-jin stood in the broadcast center, watching the countdown reach 0. Around her, people were crying and hugging each other. They had given up their chance at godhood, but somehow they felt more human than ever before. The alien fleet began to move for the first time in days, but they weren't approaching Earth for an attack. They were arranging themselves in what looked like a formation of honor, and in the golden chambers of the lead ship, an ancient being smiled for the first time in 1,000,000 years. Humanity had passed the test. They had proven themselves worthy of something far greater than personal power. They had proven themselves worthy of becoming guardians of the galaxy. The alien being materialized on the bridge of Captain Daeho's command station without warning. But this time it wasn't frightening. The creature of living starlight seemed peaceful, almost sad. "Greetings, Captain Lee Daeho," it said, its voice filling the command center with warmth. "I am the last of the builders, the ones your people call the first race." Daeho and his crew stared in amazement. This ancient being had traveled between galaxies, had seen the birth and death of civilizations, had watched over the young races of the universe for millions of years. "We thought you were here to judge us," Daeho said. "We were," the builder replied. "Every species reaches this moment eventually. They develop the power to transform themselves, to become something greater. But power without wisdom destroys everything it touches." Around Earth, the massive alien ships began to change. Their dark hulls became translucent, revealing incredible structures inside. Cities of light, gardens that sparkled like jewels, technology that seemed to bend reality itself. Dr. Nari watched from her laboratory as readings poured in from sensors around the solar system. "The ships are becoming transparent," she reported to Admiral Kim. "It's like they're fading away." "Are they leaving?" "No," she said, studying the data carefully. "I think they're ascending." On the diplomatic ship, Commander Yoon Ji-woo received a message that made her heart race. The builder had sent coordinates to her navigation system. Not coordinates in normal space, but coordinates to something far more important. "Admiral, we're receiving stellar coordinates to 47 different star systems," she reported. "All of them have young civilizations, pre-industrial societies that are just beginning to discover science." The implications were staggering. The builders weren't just leaving Earth, they were passing on their greatest responsibility. Private. Yu-jin was still in the broadcast center when screens around the world lit up with a new message. Not from Earth's governments, but from the alien ships themselves. The message was simple, but earth-shattering. Humanity has passed the test of wisdom. You chose to help others when helping yourself would have been easier. This choice makes you worthy of our greatest gift. The message continued. We do not give you advanced technology, for you are not ready for such power. Instead, we give you purpose. You are now the guardians of 47 young civilizations. Guide them as we have guided the galaxy. We have carried this burden for 10 million years. Now we pass it to you. Do not make our mistakes. Do not try to control the young races. Simply be there when they need wisdom, when they face their own tests, when they must choose between selfishness and sacrifice. Yujin felt tears streaming down her face. Humanity had lost the chance to become superhumans, but they had gained something infinitely more valuable. They had become teachers, protectors, guardians of worlds they had never seen. Under the Pacific Ocean, the alien probe began to dissolve. Dr. Oh Mi-jin watched as the device that could have transformed all life on Earth simply faded away like morning mist. It's disappearing, she told Colonel Chanwu. The transformation energy is gone. Are you disappointed? He asked. Dr. Oh looked at the readings from across the galaxy, showing life returning to a dead world where the sleeping aliens had awakened. No, she said. I think we got something better. Captain Han Dongjun was granted one final audience with the builder. He found himself once again in the chamber of golden light, but now he understood what he was seeing. This wasn't just a room, it was the control center for galactic civilization itself. You have questions, the builder said. Why did you really test us? Dongjun asked. You could have just given us the technology and let us figure it out. The ancient being showed him visions of other worlds. Beautiful planets turned to ash by species that gained power too quickly. Advanced civilizations that had conquered the galaxy, only to destroy themselves from within. Peaceful races that had been wiped out by their own creations. Power corrupts, the builder explained. Always. The only species that survive unlimited power are those who prove they will use it for others, not themselves. And if we had chosen to transform humanity, you would have become gods within 1,000 years. And like all gods, you would have eventually forgotten what it means to be mortal. You would have lost your compassion, your ability to understand the struggles of weaker species. Dongjun understood. But because we chose to help the sleeping aliens, you prove that you remember what it's like to be small and afraid. You will be good guardians because you still remember what it feels like to need help. Dr. Kang Min-ho made a discovery that changed everything humanity thought they knew about the universe. The coordinates the aliens had given them weren't just locations of young civilizations. They were positions in a vast network of guardian species spread across multiple galaxies. We're not alone, he announced to the world. The builders didn't just test humanity. They've been creating guardian species for millions of years. There are others like us, watching over young civilizations, helping them grow. How many others? President Moon asked. At least 10,000 guardian species, maybe more. We're joining a family that spans the entire universe. As the hours passed, the alien armada began to truly vanish. Not destroyed, not departed, but ascending to something beyond physical existence. The builders had completed their 10-million-year mission. Now, they could finally rest. Captain Dae-ho watched from his command station as the last alien ship faded from view. The massive vessels that had terrified humanity just days ago were now gone completely, leaving only empty space and the promise of a greater purpose. Sir, Lieutenant Park said quietly, we're receiving a transmission from the Mars colonies. What do they want? They're asking for permission to begin construction of humanity's first Guardian fleet. Dae-ho smiled. The future was already beginning. A year later, Dr. Nari stood on the bridge of Earth's first Guardian ship, the Compassion. They were approaching a young star system where primitive radio signals suggested a species was taking its first steps toward the stars. Director Park, her assistant said, we're detecting nuclear weapons on the third planet. Are they at war? No, ma'am. But they're close. The planet is divided into competing nations, each afraid the others will attack first. Nari nodded. She had seen this pattern in the files the builders had left behind. Every intelligent species went through this phase. The question was whether they would survive it. Open a channel to Earth Command, she ordered. Let them know we found our first students. The Compassion moved into position around the young world. They wouldn't interfere directly. That wasn't the Guardian way. But when the aliens below finally reached into space, when they faced their own tests and made their own choices, humanity would be waiting, ready to offer wisdom to those who sought it, ready to provide hope to those who needed it, ready to show them that the void between stars wasn't empty at all. It was full of friends they had never met, guardians they had never seen, and love they had never imagined. Captain Deho, now Admiral, wrote in his personal log, "The aliens came to Earth as conquerors in our imagination. They left as teachers in our hearts. We thought we were alone in the universe, but we were wrong. We were never alone. We just hadn't learned to listen yet. Now we know the truth. The universe is not a cold, empty place where only the strong survive. It's a garden where every species has the potential to become gardeners themselves. The builders tended this garden for 10 million years. Now it's our turn. Humanity has finally found its purpose among the stars, not as conquerors, not as gods, but as the answer to every species that looks up at the night sky and wonders, is anyone out there who cares about us? The answer is yes. We are here. We care. And we always will." In the depths of space where the builder Armada had once waited, there was now only starlight. But sometimes, if you knew how to look, you could see something more. A faint shimmer that might have been the echo of ancient wisdom, or the promise of infinite compassion, or simply the knowledge that somewhere in the vast cosmos, someone was always watching over the young and afraid. The void had not claimed the alien armada. The aliens had become one with the void itself, eternal guardians of the space between worlds, forever ensuring that no species would ever truly be alone. And humanity, the young race that had chosen love over power, sailed on through the infinite, dark, carrying hope to distant suns and the promise that every world would someday find its way home.